We're going to do Arkansas first.
I like it.
Going to hit old Sam Pittman here. And let's take a look at this schedule before we get into it, because it's another schedule that, man, it's just brutal. I mean, you start off with a neutral site game at Little Rock against Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then you travel to old Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State in week 2. Not easy, man. Not easy at all. UAB is a comparable group of 5 team. I mean, under I can't remember his name now. A head coach came from Lipscomb Academy in Nashville, down at UAB now. I'll think of his name.
I was going to say, I can't help you on that one. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'll think of his name before it's over with. But he's got things going in the right direction there at UAB. Playing an Auburn team that has got a really good rebuild going. First-year head coach Texas A&M. You host Tennessee and LSU. Not going to be easy games. Travel to Mississippi State. Host Ole Miss. You pull Texas in their first year of the conference. Louisiana Tech, and then end the season at Missouri. So not easy, man. Not easy at all. And I think you went first on our Mississippi State one last week. So I'll take Arkansas first on this week.
That'll work.
You know, I mentioned this to you beforehand. You know, I guess you can look at it 2 ways. I'm not really a fan of this Little Rock first week of the season, but it also gets you a game in a different part of the state, kind of like Tennessee does with Nashville every once in a while. But Tennessee, most of the time, will play a team like a Power 5 opponent like Virginia or somebody like that. Arkansas is over here playing a group of 5 school or even an FCS school in Little Rock.
It'd be like Tennessee playing Austin P in Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing there? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe trying to, I know what Tennessee does. Tennessee is, they're graphic, and Arkansas is the same way. They're geographic. Their city is not necessarily centralized in their state, so there's a lot of fans of the team that can't necessarily make the games. So hey, maybe they're like, you know what, this is a game that we should win, not needing a home crowd, which it's going to be a home crowd regardless. So maybe they're just trying to go to Little Rock to appease some of those fans that maybe can't get there otherwise. Like Tennessee, Knoxville's really far east for most of the state. I mean, you got people out in West Tennessee, even Middle Tennessee, that just can't make those games because they can't commute 4 hours to the game or even further. So that's my only reasoning behind it. Maybe it's to help Pine Bluff if they can't make it there. I don't know what their funding is like. They should be getting a check from this game.
Yeah,
I don't know. So that would be my only reasoning behind that. But don't want to spend too much time on it. It should be a win for Sam Pittman. If not, go ahead and get him out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to win against Pine Bluff. Oklahoma State week 2, this is a game I could see going either way just because we don't know what Mike Gundy is going to have at Arkansas at this time of year. We don't know what Arkansas under Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino is going to look like either. But game on the road here, I am going to take Oklahoma State to win this game. UAB in week 3, this is a game you better win. If you don't, then it's going to be an early exit for Sam Pittman this year. Because and it might be anyway.
Don't you think that once he loses that first game, and let's say it is Oklahoma State, don't you have a feeling that like those rumblings are just going to be there immediately? I mean, with how hot Sam Pittman's seat is, which I hate that he's going into a season like that. Like if you're going to give a guy another year, like give him another year. But I don't feel like that's the type of feeling that I'm getting out of Arkansas.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a matter of time, and everybody knows it. So why, if it was going to happen anyway, kind of like Tennessee women's basketball.
Yes, yep, exactly.
If it's going to happen anyway, you might as well go ahead and do it. So, but yeah, week 3 got to win against UAB. Week 4, this is another game. It could be a toss up, but going on the road to Auburn, and I think Hugh Freeze has got a little something cooking down there in Auburn. I'm going to give the win to Auburn here. Texas A&M in Dallas. I have heard that this is the last year they're going to do the game at AT&T Stadium. They're going to start doing the home and homes again. But this game is going to go to Texas A&M. You welcome in Tennessee, but Tennessee is going to take a win in this game. LSU, I mentioned it last week. I don't really know where LSU is going to be at this year, but I think that LSU is going to be better than Arkansas. So I'm going to give another
LSU's
loss.
Intriguing, and I know their schedule prediction is going to come up, but like LSU's very intrigued because their defense was as bad as anybody's last year, but they had a Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels. How's it going to affect them this year with the new quarterback they have, which is solid dude.
Yeah.
Is it Johnson? Is it Max Johnson?
No, it's Garrett Nussmeier.
Yes, Max Johnson transferred out to, I think, A&M, actually.
Yeah.
So Gus Meyer, the Gus Bus, whatever. No, I'm intrigued to see if there's a fall off there, or if maybe the defense has stepped it up at LSU to where there doesn't necessarily need to be that type of high level, quarterback play from LSU. But that is an intriguing team this year. I think one of the biggest unknowns in SEC is what do you have in LSU. So it kind of makes this game particularly hard to predict.
Yeah, I agree. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. I think that Mississippi State has nothing to lose this year under first-year head coach Jeff Lebby. No expectations. I think that he welcomes in Arkansas and he gets a win. And
that one hurts for Sam Pittman if he's still
I was gonna say this game right here signs his divorce paperwork with Arkansas, but they let him coach the game against Ole Miss, where he drops another game. And in this bye week between Ole Miss and Texas, you see Sam Pittman out the door. That's my prediction for this year. But it ain't easy in these last 3 games either. I mean, you got Texas. You're going to take a loss there. Louisiana Tech, you'll get a win, pick up your 3rd win of the season, but you travel to Missouri to end the season, and it's just not going to be pretty. 3-9 this year for Arkansas.
That is a low of low right there, brother. I would have predicted this to be their worst case scenario, and you're saying that is what they're going to do. Yeah, that's a rough year for Arkansas. We don't hate Arkansas. Don't go bashing us because we're Arkansas haters, because we're not. We're Florida haters. It is what it is.
Yeah.
No, this is Justin even chimes in on Facebook. He says he agrees. 3-9. And that's actually kind of surprising because Justin's always got to correct us on 1 or 2 picks in here. But Justin said you hit the nail on the head, which kind of scares me a little bit because I was too much of a nice guy to have him going that low. All right. So 3-9 and 0-8 in the SEC. We should have done this one before Vandy, brother. All right. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, that's a win. All right. And then the Oklahoma State game, that's a swing game. If they win it,
yep,
I think they could do decent. I'm not going to say great, but I think they could win some games. But I'm kind of like you. I don't think Oklahoma State's going to be I hope it's a good game, but I think Mike Gundy's got a better roster than Sam Pittman is. So, I do think Oklahoma State gets that win. Arkansas will take a loss there, first of the season. UAB is absolutely a win for Arkansas. Auburn, at Auburn, Jordan Hare, depending on what time this game is. I have a feeling, I haven't seen their flex schedule or whatever for this game. I have a feeling this will be a later afternoon game just because I think that's Arkansas's only chance to get one. Hate to say it like that, but I do. So I'm taking Auburn in that game as well. I'm going to look a lot similar to your prediction. And then versus A&M in Arlington or in Dallas, potato. I do have A&M winning that game. I do have the Vols getting it done as well. And then LSU as well getting the win. And that's a tough stretch right there for Arkansas, which every team in the SEC is going to have a tough stretch of at least 3 games at some point in their schedule. Now, here's where I'm going to contradict myself just a little bit. You've already pointed it out, but I have Arkansas winning against Mississippi State in Starkville. And yes, in the Mississippi State video, I said Mississippi State would get this win, but here's the nice guy in me. I have a hard time predicting the team going winless in the SEC. So I think they're going to pick one up. It may not be at Mississippi State, but I have a hard time doing it. I think this is their best chance. With Mississippi State being in their first-year head coach, this is their best chance to get a win in this schedule in the SEC. And I want them to get it. I'm not a hater in any way. I want them to get it just to feel something, obviously because Ole Miss, they're losing to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is kind of like, I'm comparing them to Ohio State because I feel like Ole Miss has kind of sold their soul for this year. Texas is a solid program. They're not beating Texas. The only way they beat Texas is if the wheels fall off for Texas, if Quinn Ewers gets hurt or something along those lines. But I have Arkansas losing that one. I do think they beat Louisiana Tech, and I think they lose to Missouri, and I have them going 4-8. It's an ugly start to our predictions, but like we said, we kind of started with the lower of the low of the SEC. We're going to work our way up to the top, and this is just another example of how tough it's going to be for these teams. If you're not competitive, you can quickly find yourself winless in the SEC, and I don't want that for Arkansas. I really don't. But I don't feel like this schedule has really set Sam Pittman up for success whatsoever. So I'm not expecting a lot out of this team.
Yeah, I agree. And, I like Sam Pittman. I mean, he's a good guy. He's got a great personality. I mean, you come on there in the post game with the old, I'm just going to go get me a cold beer. I mean, he's a likable guy. But, yeah, I mean, he's also his first couple of seasons there, he had success. And he set the bar high for the following seasons. And last year, I mean, he had a team that was predicted to go 8-4, maybe even 9-3. And
they got banged up though.
They did. Injuries happened. You also, and this is a point where it's a big mark against Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman is an offensive line guy. And he had one of the worst offensive lines in the country last year. I mean, how KJ Jefferson was able to stay standing after some of those games, I have no idea. So that's a big red flag, not just for me, but I've talked to some Arkansas people. I had Caleb from the Hogs on the Hill podcast on the SEC last week, and asked him about it. He said, yeah, it's a big red flag for Arkansas fans that he is a offensive line guy, and you've got an offensive line that is just that bad. So I think that it's inevitable that Sam Pittman is going to be gone this year. You mentioned that basically my schedule prediction is the low end of it. I agree with you. I don't think they can be any worse than 3-9.
The problem is, I think their best case scenario is 5-7. Like, I don't know if they could really even get to a bowl game this year, unless there's some other teams in the schedule that just absolutely the wheels fall off. Like, maybe they pick up one against Texas A&M, but their roster is still solid. So it's hard for me to outright pick that. Maybe Auburn, but then Hugh Freeze is going to be, that seat's going to be warm in there in Auburn, and especially that happening at Auburn. That's hard for me to really see. But that's the other two games. Oklahoma State, I guess, right off the bat. I mean, Oklahoma State's a big one, which I said earlier was a big swing game. But that's the three that I'm seeing here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can make an argument for a bowl game here. I didn't have a win against Mississippi State where you do. So I've got them going 3-9. I can see a win against Mississippi State. First year head coach Jeff Lebby. We don't know what that team's going to look like at that point in the season. I can see a win there. That puts you at 4 wins. Auburn, we don't know what that's going to look like either. I think Hugh Freeze is going to have the team moving in the right direction there in Auburn. But, I think that's a place where if you're Arkansas, if you're Sam Pittman, you kind of got to steal a win there if you want to have any chance of saving your job. So that's 5. Oklahoma State, I mentioned it earlier. I think Justin says having LSU at home is a swing. I agree with you, Justin, because we mentioned the unknown that LSU has this year.
It is the biggest in the SEC, in my opinion. You have no idea what LSU has other than Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So I think that is big. That might be a spot where I can see it, but I do think that LSU is a little bit better than Arkansas. But Oklahoma State there, you've seen Mike Gundy struggle at times early in the season, and that could be a spot where Arkansas also picks one up. That makes number 6. Maybe one of Texas A&M, LSU would make 7. I think absolute best case, the best case is 7-5 for this season.
Ooh, that's pretty. Yeah, I mean that That would, in my mind, with this schedule, that would save Sam Pittman's job, especially
All right,
how he gets it. Especially how he gets it. If his team's competitive throughout the season, great. If he gets all 7 wins in the first half of the season or whatever, like however that works out, and then he loses a lot in a row, that would be how he still loses his job going 7-5. But I do think if he went 7-5, it almost not even matter how he did it, because that means he did pull some upsets this year.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question, is where do you think Sam Pittman has to get to this year to save his job? And you say 7-5.
Yeah, it would have to be 7-5.
I think I agree with you.
It's hard to say 6-6 could save a coaching job.
Yeah.
It's always a bad sign for me when what's Sam Pittman in? Year 5, 6, 7?
I believe this will be I think this year will be year 6.
I can't remember. I apologize to Arkansas faithful. I don't feel like it's a good sign when you've got a head coach that's been there the tenure of a quarterback, and then the quarterback transfers out his senior year or grad senior year, and he goes to UCF and KJ Jefferson. I don't think that's a good sign, and I'm going to kind of compare this situation to kind of like Butch Jones' years at Tennessee, where Tennessee was so bad for almost 10 years. Not 10 years. I guess they were so bad for about 8 years before Butch Jones finally won 8 games in a season, and we praised the crap out of 8-win seasons. And we thought we were on to something good. And then the moment Butch Jones went winless in the SEC, or was on the road to do that, we ended up firing him. Sam Pittman had this team, I think, at 9 wins under KJ's first or second year at quarterback. And that's when you thought, oh, man, this team's going to be something, because everybody predicted them to go winless that year, and they came out blazing. And now you have a program who loves Sam Pittman for what he did that 1-2 seasons, and they just don't know how to say goodbye. I mean, like they understand. I think they understand that this program's not on an upper, trajectory, at least not in a steep one. And at this point, you don't know if you're going to get that. I've not heard any buzz out of Arkansas whatsoever, other than what game is Sam Pittman getting fired in this year? Like, so it's hard to, really go to battle with them saying they're going to win 8, they're going to go 8-4 when you look at their schedule. And I can pull out almost 5 guaranteed losses. I'm talking Missouri, Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and I can say one of A&M, Mississippi State, Auburn, Oklahoma State, like LSU even. Like, if not 2 of, 3 of. I mean, there's a lot of things stacked up against Sam Pittman, but that's why the game's got to be played. We'll never know. I mean, we could be eating crow, and Arkansas is living large at 9-3 at the end of the year, and I'm like, holy crap, we did not see that coming. That's the beauty thing of college football. So
yeah, and this is Sam Pittman's 5th season at Arkansas. His first year was in the COVID year. And you're right, year 2 they went 9-4. Fantastic year. 2022 took a step back,
and it was an exciting, and that was an exciting year. I think that was the year that maybe they took Ole Miss all the way. I mean, that was like that was a massive game in which they ended up winning it. It might have been LSU. I can't remember who they were playing, and I felt like a bunch of overtimes, and Arkansas was the better end of it, and that's what kind of put KJ Jefferson on the map, right? But then I'll let you finish your thought. But that year was crazy for Arkansas.
Yeah, and even last year, with all the injuries, Arkansas was very competitive. I mean, I think Caleb said that there was 5 games last year that Arkansas played in that were 1-possession games that ended up being losses, and I could think of a couple right off the top of my head. You had LSU, Alabama, I think was a field goal game. You had BYU, you were a Hail Mary away from winning the game. So you were competitive, you just couldn't get over that hump, and I asked you the question earlier, where do you think Pittman has to get to save his job? I think I'm also going to say 7-5, but even then, is the writing already on the wall? I mean,
I think so, but that's just me.
I think bringing Bobby Petrino in is kind of the, hey, you're on your way out the door. Not saying that Petrino is going to get the job afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he just going to step up and step in? Kind of like Kevin Steele sort of tried to do at Tennessee, but then I think he went down to Auburn. I can't remember. Yeah, he's a defensive coordinator down there, ain't he?
I think Kevin Steele is actually not. No, Kevin Steele, is he at Alabama now?
No, he might be. That would make sense. I don't know, but that's going to do it for the Arkansas season prediction. Not a lot of high hopes from this side of the country for Arkansas, unfortunately, and I hate that for Arkansas fans. I do like their fan base, and it just is what it is. Some tough times right now, but y'all get through it. Hopefully, Sam Pittman can have 6 or 7 ice cold beers this year after a big win. So